If you're thinking about getting into real estate, investing, purchasing your first home, or really just purchasing your primary residence and getting out of a rental situation, you need to pay attention to some of the key tips that you're going to hear today from Barb.
So pull out a notebook, watch closely, and listen to the tips we got for you today.
Get ready for action. Welcome back to another episode of Team Whittaker. I'm Huey Whittaker.
And I'm Barbara Whittaker.
And today we're going to be talking to Barbara about everything real estate. We're going to be talking about the investment side of it. We're going to be talking about primary residence and just some tips and tricks in real estate from a 25-year plus real estate professional that has done it all. So Barbara.
Yes.
I think the first thing that I would ask you, for curiosity's sake, and I might know a little bit about it, but you're really the professional. I get a lot of calls. People ask me questions and I'm like, yep, we can do that. Yep. And I'm like, and as soon as we hang up, I'm like, Barbara, I'm going to connect to you so you can answer all the real questions. Right? I know the surface level and I do have my license. I know enough to be dangerous, but Barbara's a professional and the expert. So we lean on her for all things real estate, contractual and all that. And so the first thing I would ask is, let's say I rent a home and I've been here for a few years. I've been hearing about and feeling that it might be time at some point to explore purchasing my own home. Mm-hmm. So what are some of the first things a person should consider when having these thoughts?
Good question. So typically when someone reaches out and they are wondering whether or not purchasing a home is for them, I tell them to step back and consider a few things. One, do they have any savings? I'm a big advocate for not putting people into situations where they are house poor, where they rush into purchasing a home and they're not really ready. To make sure that they have some level of financial stability to be able to maintain a mortgage payment and the expenses that come along with owning a home. We are advocates for owning a home is better than renting, but you got to be able to sustain that because you don't want to get in a bad position. The second thing is, what can you afford? And really this is a troubling process sometimes, because what you can afford renting, you may not be able to afford purchasing. And when I'm talking about like your lifestyle. So you may be able to, live in a downtown apartment with the rent that you pay, but to purchase that same level of housing may be outside of your approval range. So you have to, have a moment of reckoning with yourself that you're able to step back and maybe downgrade your level of living and lifestyle for a little bit, make a sacrifice to be able to create, some long-term lasting legacy assets, and gain some appreciation to then get back to a place where you can purchase where your lifestyle, where you want your lifestyle to be.
So at what point would you suggest someone get in contact with like a lender?
Yeah. That really is the first step for me. I think it does not hurt to know what steps you need to take. So I always encourage people that a lot of times people are hesitant. They're like, oh, I don't want my credit score to be affected by pulling my credit. Listen, a few points on your credit score is worth you knowing exactly what you need to do over the next 6, 12, 18 months, 2 years in order to get yourself in a place where you can purchase. You know exactly what you're going to need to do to be approved by a lender to get, funding. You'll know exactly what you get qualified for, what your monthly payment will be. And that will give you some real, how people say, go test drive that car. This is that step in the home buying process. You're testing exactly what you can purchase in today's market. You'll be able to get an idea of what that money will buy you. So it's just so many good things in just stepping out and going to a lender, seeing if you can get approved, hearing what feedback they have to tell you about your credit, if you need to fix anything, because sometimes everything is not perfect, and you need to clean some things up. And if you are approved, it helps you understand, okay, well, because my situation is XYZ, I can only get approved for this, but if I change this here or I get additional income here, then maybe I can get approved for this. So it really does open your eyes and give you some clarity on the pathway that you may want to take.
So 2 points to your comment. One is make sure you go and you pull your credit for free every year, and make sure you know what's on it and what you need to take off it, and try to work on cleaning it up. And we've talked about this in a prior podcast. And then the second thing is interest rates. So what should one expect right now, right? Interest rates are higher. So should they expect to still be in a good situation? Should people wait? Like, is it a good buying time because of that?
Yeah.
What's the thought on interest rates when you're looking at getting approved?
Yeah. So every person, family, couple, whatever the case may be, everybody's situation is different. You really have to not look at or listen to the noise around you. You have to make an assessment as to, okay, I may be in a higher interest rate right now, but this is what I'm trying to do. This is what I'm trying to achieve for my family's financial goals. So this is the step I need to take. However, that may not be the right answer for Sally down the street. So I usually have people assess their current situation. What can they afford? What will it look like there's different mortgage types that you can get. So if your plan is you are going to be in Florida for 3 years and then you're going to be moving out of Florida, you may choose to get an ARM product. Some people think ARM products are risky. I mean, we've used them and they've worked for us in our situations because we had specific plans with properties that we were purchasing. If you were, looking to be situated, maybe you're an older person and it's going to be very important for you to have a fixed rate, but you're getting ready to retire and you need to use your current income for what you need to get approved for. And so now might be the time. I mean, there's just so many different situations that will vary from one person to the next on whether or not now is a good time to buy. It is not a one size fits all. You will find investors moving at times that masses are not moving. You will find investors moving at times that masses are moving, right? They know what they're looking for and they know how to navigate the market accordingly. From a new buyer situation, you just have to assess your affordability, your savings, your long-term goals, your short-term goals, and then you have to make a collective decision on whether or not it's a good time to buy. But I would always advise not to just base it on the interest rates. There are a lot of products out there. There are a lot of negotiation tactics you can use to get lower interest rates. So there's a lot of options, and you really should have some assistance in trying to guide you towards what may be the best option for you.
Yeah, and you brought up a good point, I think, that people don't consider, right? Like, yeah, ARM rate mortgages are risky, but real estate is risky by itself, within itself, right? Mortgages are risky in itself. Getting a loan, stock market's risky, right? There's risk really involved in our day-to-day.
Not having assets at all is risky.
Yeah. So we're taking risks every day. People are taking risks every day. And so to prioritize a risk and to have your risk in order is really what you should maybe be thinking about and considering when looking at and into
assessing it. Yeah, assessing the risk that you're able to take and hold on, because you really want to be able to support that payment that you're making and be able to be flexible and be able to pivot in times that the economy is changing. If you were to lose your job, if you had a family change, you don't want to put yourself in a bad situation. So you have to assess that full picture.
I did want to ask, and I've heard, the three most important things in regards to real estate, when it comes to real estate, right, is location, location, location. And
Good job,
you would have answered that. I got that right on the test. So when it comes to like considering buying a home to live in as your primary residence or even a second home, what would be like a tip or a trick that you can share with people, whether it be that they don't realize that they can negotiate something, or maybe some of the changes that took place recently with laws and how you have and are represented when you purchase homes. Like maybe you can fill people in on something that just maybe
Yeah.
is not widely understood or known.
Yeah.
On the buying for self side.
Okay,
And
that's a
something
loaded question.
quick.
There's so much.
And
Yeah.
just one
I'm gonna just
good
pick one
loaded.
because there's really so many, right? And that's
Or two.
the perk of having a good realtor, broker, agent on your side that knows what they're doing and understands, not just a one path fits all. One trick I would put out there, okay, I'll give a couple, but one thing that I think is important in the current environment, you asked about interest rates. Interest rates are around, like, let's just say you can get an interest rate for 6.8%. And, that affects affordability and how much you get qualified for your monthly payment and for the purchase price. You could buy down your interest rate, or you can have the seller buy down your interest rate. And that will allow you to say, I'm going to negotiate with the seller to give me X amount of money to pay down my interest rate to a 5.8 interest rate. That 1% savings on the life of your loan is huge. It's huge. And that money makes more sense from a buyer perspective in some situations versus the seller giving you money towards closing costs. If you allocated that money specifically for buying down an interest rate, that is just a major savings. And enough people aren't really taking advantage of that negotiation tactic. It could be expensive, it could be costly, but it is something in a competitive market that sellers will be willing to do or cover a good portion of the cost. So that's something that could be considered. The second thing is that, I often teach in investing is tie the property up. And this is effective for home buyers that know what they're looking for, because most times people feel like, I want to wait to sign a contract. It's a lot of information. I don't want to feel rushed. I don't want to feel overwhelmed. But as agents and brokers, you have to gently guide your customer and your clients to understand that if this home is really something you may want to consider, and maybe you need some more time to think about it, it is to your best interest to get the agreement signed, and you still have time during your due diligence period to finalize things. Now, are there things that you need to do in that due diligence period? Yes, you may have to pay your deposit. You may have to invest money in your home inspection in the interim, but you're going to have 3 to 5 to 7 to 10 days or whatever your due diligence period is to finalize your thought process and really determine whether or not you want to move forward with that property versus saying, I want to wait 3 to 5 to 7 to 10 days to put a contract on, and then that property is maybe no longer available. So those are two quick things that I would offer.
Got it. So you kind of lean into the investing side, and we're just going to let that run and pivot into that. So it's kind of the same question to start that conversation. I'm a person been thinking about doing real estate, getting into this real estate investing thing. I've heard my friends do it. I've seen it on TV. I keep getting these ads on social media, and they tell me to attend a class or something, and they can pay for my investments. I've been wanting to do this. What's the first step in trying to attempt to actually invest in real estate as a business?
We always tell our kids, never do anything without knowing why you did it. You should always have a reason. And the same is true in investing. The same is true in our model legacy. You start with L. You're going to learn. You need to learn and assess and understand what kind of investor you are. And that is so important in the investing strategy. Otherwise, you will be like a chicken with your head cutting off, looking at everything, thinking, this is good. I have this over here. I could buy this business. I could buy this property does that. It's too much. You really need an area of focus, especially when you're a new investor, that you can learn, understand, make an assessment of risk, and then move forward accordingly, right? Get the assistance, the help, the guidance, the mentorship. You need to know what kind of investor you are. Rule number one, when you become an investor, you're going to say, I want to invest in residential real estate. perfect. That's a good start, but you need to narrow even further than that. When I find money to invest, whether it's other people's money, whether it's my money, whether I'm going to be lending from a bank, whatever the case may be, I need to make sure I am cash flowing X amount of dollars. I would never recommend to any new investor that you purchase anything that's losing money. So when you're running your numbers and assessing your numbers, you need to know what is your expectation on your return. If you can't understand that and can't figure it out, you're not ready to invest. Investing is about risk, it's about reward, it's about return on investment. And if you can't understand those concepts, you're not ready. But once you have an understanding of what you're looking for, you can zero in, you can, find that niche, you know what you're looking for, and you can identify things much quicker and assess them much quicker.
And that's, really good advice and a lot of good information that you just shared. And people may feel that, okay, man, I really do want to learn, but I still want to maybe learn through looking. So would you recommend Zillow, or would you recommend them maybe partnering with someone that's doing this, or would you recommend them getting with a broker to find properties? Like, what's the recommendation to start, just so they can start seeing properties and start maybe understanding it better if they're just starting from zero?
Yeah. I will say a couple of things to that. Huey's in the financial industry. And when people come to him, they're relying on him to have better information than they have, which is important and which is good. But at the end of the day, his client still bears all of the risks. And so there is a level of responsibility that you have when you become an investor. I am not one to advertise and to advocate for people to jump out into the investing world without knowing what the possibilities are of that risk. And I'm going to give you the horror story before I'm going to give you the singing story, or the victory story, because I just need you to understand that you're investing, right? So as much information as I can give you as an expert in real estate, at the end of the day, you're the one making the decision. And I make sure my clients and my investors always understand that. I can give you an assessment based off of very good information and give you a recommendation. But at the end of the day, you're making a decision. You need to understand that. So that's the first thing. The second thing is when you are looking or considering investing, you can look at properties. It's fun. We like looking at properties, right? So I'm not going to deter you from doing that, but don't waste people's time. Okay. I always tell people, are you ready to do this? Do you have money available? Do you know where you're getting the money from? Do you have X amount of dollars up front? I ask a series of questions. So as a professional in the industry that has had I've had plenty of people waste my time. I would ask that you not waste my time. There's plenty of things you can do in your own, that you can look around on Zillow, you can drive around and check out a neighborhood, you can see if it's something that you can afford, you can reach out to lenders and get approved, because that's important if you're going to get financing. You can look at where you can use other high interest loans. We're not a fan of those, but plenty of people have done it and made money that way. That's not the type of investing we get into. Hard money loans is what I'm referring to, but I would encourage you to be as much invested as you expect that investment to work for you, because the least amount of time you spend on something when you're a new investor is a red flag. So just be prepared.
Yeah, there are steps when you start something. We need to walk it out, but you also need to spend time in the thing. And I think that's kind of what Barbara's saying. Like, you need to do your due diligence.
Right.
And you need to kind of get your sweat equity invested into that thing, especially if you want it to be a success. If you want it fly by night, sure. I mean, good luck, but that's not a long-term strategy.
Yeah. I tell people, and I know you're going to ask me something else really quickly, and I know we have to finish up. One of the things that Huey does, we're big believers in making sure the investment is reachable, that we can get there quickly. We have not expanded to the point, have not gone to the point of where we're investing in other states until we had a very clear model. It just gives us a little bit more control on what we're doing and what the outcome is. So we make sure our properties are reaching distance. We can drive there, get there in a reasonable amount of time. And typically, Huey, especially if we're doing a renovation or flip, he is at those properties 5 to 6 times a week, sometimes 2 times in the same day. That is the level of care that we take. And we see a lot of investors try to get into the flipping business, and they're there one day out of the week. They're there every other week. It's a disaster. So that's just not for us. You can do it. But for us, these are our requirements. We have very clear understanding of what our investing requirements are. And we stick to those, and that's what's worked for us.
Yeah, and yeah, it's demanding, sometimes that requires you leaving the house at 6:30 a.m. so that you can go before you enter the office, or late at night. We've had several late nights, midnight at a property, doing some kind of cleaning ourselves, working after the vendors. So that's
making sure they lock the doors.
Little things.
Don't
that's
leave
the level,
water on them.
Yeah, that's the level of care that we expect, but also we deliver. So it's really what your standard is, I think, to Barbara's point. And she mentioned flipping. I have 2 other kind of questions. This is one. So our strategy has been flipping, but our strategy has also been long-term investments where we hold on to them and we do the long-term rentals. How important is that to be established prior to someone taking on a real estate investment? Or can they just flip-flop? What's the thought there?
Yeah, you can definitely flip-flop. You can have a mix. You can do both at the same time. I think the importance really is stability and the financial strategy that you set up, and really assessing your model on a regular basis. We preach over and over again that we assess our finances on a quarterly basis. So if we set out something in the beginning of the year and we say, this is what we're going to do this year, and we see that we're not trending the way we need to and we need to adjust and pivot, we do that. So we've had years where we just focused on flips. We had years where we focused on long-term investments. I will share that, part of our long-term strategy is to increase our monthly cash flow, and for various reasons, right? So that's why the long-term investments are important to us. But we were doing, more flips before because we felt like we had to expedite our reserves in cash, right? Yeah. So it made sense for us to do that on a regular basis, but it's very demanding, like we just talked about, right? So both options and pathways have their benefits. We make decisions for tax purposes sometimes. There is strategy that is intertwined in what we do. We are not, just aimlessly out there like doing whatever. There's a reason to what we're doing.
So you really have to know and be well positioned to pivot, right? And so Barbara's point is like our strategy allowed us, because we had a specific strategy, it allowed us to be really efficient in and effective to what our strategy determined at that point. Last question, same as the last question for kind of the primary residence, second home. Tips and tricks. You did mention a little portion of the investment strategy that you can utilize, but tips and tricks in the investment portion of this conversation. One that I'll mention, we do a lot of different things, but like with Barbara being licensed, I'm licensed, but I'm not on any transactions. But just her being licensed in the investment portion helps us quite a bit on every single property, with her representing us, because, depending on how the commissions work, we're getting an influx, a little small, commission on one side or sometimes on both. So that's just one thing that I think works well in our strategy too, because some investors are not licensed at all.
Correct.
And so they don't get that at all. They lose out on that.
Yeah, we get that on the, even with the change in the NAR rules, or the NAR settlement, that benefit is there for us still. It just depends on the property, right? It's not in the bag like it used to be per se, but it's still negotiable, right? So that opportunity to make commission is still there. And the savings from when we go to sell it, right? There's a savings on the commission there where we're not paying. That's money that can stay within the company, right? And we do pay the company, so it works for different reasons, different purposes on how the money flows from when we go to sell property. So that's a good point. I would say, a tip and trick I usually offer when you're considering a flip. This is like proprietary information, like high level secret
So
stuff.
don't tell anybody.
But a lot of people go wrong in determining what they can get for a flip by looking at the 6 months most recent comparables. When you're looking at properties and you're in the residential world and you're coming up with comps on what the value of that property will be after renovation, the ARV, which is the after renovation value or after repair value. A lot of times new investors will go wrong by looking at the most recent 6 months. I always train new investors to look at the most recent 3 months. It's a shorter window. If you have a good flip strategy, a good team that you're going to buy the property, do your renovations and repairs within a 6 to 8 week period, by the time you go to list, those most recent 3-month comps that you had before you purchased the property will still be comparables when you go to relist your property. That is going to give you the most solid view of what the market is going to do by the time you get your property on the market if you flip it fast. If you don't flip that property fast, if you don't do the renovations right, well, and quickly, you are putting yourself in the world of unknown, creating a higher risk on what you'd be able to get as far as a return is concerned for that property. So timing is important. Looking at that most recent 3 months instead of 6 month comp period, making sure you have a team lined up, making sure your funding is right are all important keys in flipping.
And one of our biggest strategies is getting in and out. I mean, we've done 30-day flips, and I'm not talking about changing the AC. I'm talking about work where there's 15 people there working, and one day, like, we're getting it done where they're arguing back of, people are in people's way, but we got to work this out, right? So weekends, the whole thing. So that is an important piece to consider. And not all flips need to be fast, but if you're going to be utilizing that strategy, like Barbara just mentioned, make sure that it's built in and you kind of consider all of the
not to put out shoddy work or anything along those lines. There's times we had to redo things over again, right? So not to the detriment of the new buyer. You want to make sure you're doing everything correctly, that the cabinets are going in and looking good, that you don't have any issues with your countertops. You don't want to leave anybody with any problems. So time is important, but also making sure you do good work is going to be important in that final number that you get as well.
Yeah, and remember, like, there's an inspection on the property. When you cut corners, like, it's usually going to be revealed in the inspection when you're going to sell the house anyways.
Right.
So, I mean, like all of our properties, they're inspected, and sometimes we even do an inspection after we get done with the work as well.
And we use licensed trades, right? Like, we are making sure the roof is permitted. We're getting the AC permitted. Any electrical work, we're making sure it's done by licensed electrical people. Do encourage and advise people to make those right decisions and not cutting corners. It's really not a good thing.
And we're always looking for good trades. So if anybody out there has good trades, know somebody, definitely, link us together and we can maybe consider doing business in the future. So that is what we have for you today. Hopefully it was helpful. A lot of great information. I have to go pick Ryan up and then bring Ryan to Imani to watch Imani's rest of her practice and then come home. So we are done for the day and look forward to seeing you next time.
Until next time, start strong, grow bold, be fruitful.
Adios.